Northern Cyprus, a stretch of land where big promises are made to those wanting children. But are those promises too good to be true?
When James was born, we expected him to have blue eyes, and he didn't.
For years, these parents lived with a secret fear.
I just knew that something wasn't right.
A fear which led to DNA tests. Nothing could have prepared them for the results.
I was absolutely livid.
Something had gone very much amiss. And what was that going to mean for the children?
It is the biggest fear of any IVF unit to mix up an egg or sperm or embryo.
Parents have told me they believe the wrong sperm and egg donors were used during IVF procedures which led to the birth of their children. And all of them were treated in Northern Cyprus. Have loose rules and little regulation led to wrongdoing?
I don't want people to think that I need to have a baby that looks like me, but I needed the truth. I don't want to lie to my child about where they came from.
I'm Anna Collinson, an investigative journalist for the BBC. Desperate, families have turned to me to see if I can find out the truth about their children's donors.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
She's just not going to engage, is she?
We trusted these people, and have we been really stupid?
How did you feel when you both saw your DNA results?
Upset. You can't just say someone's this and then they're not.
This investigation started with one family searching for answers. So you two are about to find out whether your children are biologically related. But just how far does this story go?
Just dread to think how many people, families, children are affected by what they've been doing.
Within a few years of meeting, Beth and Laura wanted to become parents. But at that time, the same-sex couple found it difficult to find the fertility treatment they wanted in the UK, so they looked abroad.
It was just a relief, wasn't it, to find a clinic in Northern Cyprus that was just very welcoming, really easy to talk to and communicate with, a relief compared to our experiences in other places.
The two women needed a sperm donor to make their dreams of having children a reality. What were you looking for in a donor?
We were going back 15 years, and I know the LGBT community has progressed since then, but at that time we did want them to look similar to us, so that was kind of one less thing that would be questioned.
The couple's clinic, Doge IVF Centre, told them they could choose an anonymous sperm donor from a Danish sperm bank. As they browsed the sperm bank's website, one account stood out.
The profile was called Finn.
Has brown hair, which is straight, medium build, blue eyes. You had his health history, but also the history of the family. So it was just all together really reassuring, wasn't it?
Yeah, the key bit was that personal statement, really, wasn't it?
It says, "My motivation for becoming a donor is to help people to become parents. As a parent myself, I know the hopes and doubts in early phases of parenthood and the joy and happiness later on."
Beth and Laura would never meet this man. Finn wasn't even his real name, but having this information brought them comfort.
And it would just be so nice for the children to look at that, and just a sense of it being a nice person who wanted to donate for the right reasons. So it was really important that they had some
Just a sense of who he is.
Because that's half of them.
Yeah.
It's half their genetics, their sense of self, who they are.
The couple emailed their patient coordinator, Julie Hodson, who worked at Doge. Beth and Laura had been so happy with their treatment at the clinic that when they wanted a second baby, they went back to the same IVF team. They asked for Finn's sperm to be ordered again. Their IVF journey cost them an estimated £16,000, including £2,000 that Doge Clinic charged for Finn's sperm. IVF is a fertility treatment where a woman's eggs are retrieved and then fertilised with sperm in a lab. This can create an embryo, which is implanted in a woman's uterus and may develop into a baby. For this family, the procedure worked twice. Kate was born from one of Laura's eggs, which means Laura is her biological mum. A few years later, James was born from one of Beth's eggs, so he's biologically related to Beth. Donor Finn was meant to be used for both children. He was the key link to ensure they would be biological half-siblings.
Don't have a dad. I've got 2 mums. I'm not like everyone else, so fun to be different.
It's rare to hear from donor-conceived children, but I've worked closely with Kate and James to ensure they were ready to share their story.
What my mum said is that my donor is Danish. I have the same donor as Kate.
Yeah, they've always been interested and curious about that side, where they're from, haven't they? Always been curious. Kate, when she was little, would always ask to go to Denmark. She wants to see the country. What are the people like there?
Both of them have described themselves as, oh yes, I'm half Danish.
James is particularly, he's very proud, wasn't he?
And when did you feel like something wasn't quite right?
So when James was born, we expected him to have blue eyes, and he didn't. He's got beautiful brown eyes, but they're most definitely brown. So that kind of rung a bit of an alarm bell.
Yes, we're both having the same kind of doubts, but I was super avoidant and not really wanting to acknowledge it properly or talk about it for a long time.
After nearly a decade of uncertainty, they decided to do a commercial DNA test.
And then you said, well, shall we get Kate tested at the same time? And I was like, well, do we need to? And you said, well, we might as well do.
So this is James's.
They were sat right here when they viewed the results, which would change everything.
I was just absolutely livid.
The test showed that James's ancestry on his paternal side was centred on Turkey and other nearby countries. He did not appear to be related to donor Finn.
And then we opened up Kate, expecting to see Scandinavian and British, and hers was pretty similar to James's, but not the same as James. To us, it looked like they weren't related.
The days afterwards, just shocked, weren't we? Shocked, angry.
Upset?
Very upset, very upset.
Beth and Laura couldn't believe their children might not be biologically related. They went from knowing a lot about their donor to nothing at all.
What screening have they done for the donor in terms of health checks and everything else? And also, how many donations have they done?
The feelings of dread was very much around knowing something had gone very much amiss. And what was that going to mean for the children?
Well, I've never heard of an incident like this in the UK. It is the biggest fear of any IVF unit to mix up an egg, sperm or embryo. It's important to say that there's nothing inherently wrong with what's called cross-border medicine, and it happens quite a lot. However, the moment you exit the shores of this country, you rely on the local regulation of wherever you're having treatment.
Come and join us for our IVF appointment today in Cyprus.
Northern Cyprus is one of the most popular destinations for British people seeking fertility treatment abroad.
In the UK, we were basically made to feel like there was no hope.
Clinics boast high success rates and low costs.
Roughly between £5,000 and £10,000, I would say, is around the ballpark figure of what you would pay for treatment there.
Social media is full of people sharing their positive experiences.
They're here, it's happening.
Northern Cyprus is particularly popular with those who require a sperm or egg donor, such as people with fertility issues and same-sex couples.
This is our IVF success story.
But we found other people online talking about a more disturbing side. After they received their results, Beth and Laura turned to these sites and were shocked to discover other families believed they too had been given the wrong donors in Northern Cyprus. I spent months reaching out to people on these forums. Slowly, they started to engage. They were angry and scared. Okay, so you're going to be playing a woman called Catherine. This actor is telling one woman's story.
So I always thought that I'd find a nice man to settle down with, but he never came. And I was running out of time, so I decided to become a mum on my own. I wanted to carry the baby, but I needed an egg donor and a sperm donor.
Her clinic presented her with a selection of egg donors to choose from.
They asked me for a load of selfies so they could find donors who looked like me.
As for the sperm, she was told to choose a donor from a Danish sperm bank, which the clinic would then order for her. When you have IVF in Northern Cyprus, all donors must be anonymous, but patients can be given basic information about them. Catherine chose donors from Western Europe, with blonde hair, blue eyes and fair skin, like her.
I had a beautiful baby who I love with all my heart, but I knew straight away something was wrong. My child has dark hair, dark eyes, olive skin and looks nothing like me, so I decided to do a DNA test. When I got the DNA results, they were like, "This is your child's father."
But that man was not the sperm donor she had selected. It was her child's real sperm donor, who by chance was registered on the DNA test database. And the egg donor didn't appear to be the woman Catherine had selected either.
I don't want people to think that I'm shallow, like I need to have a baby that looks like me. Having my child was, one of the best things I could have wished for, but I needed the truth. I don't want to lie to my child about where they came from.
Catherine raised her concerns with her clinic, but they reassured her that she'd been given the donors she'd asked for. Northern Cyprus is only legally recognised by Turkey, and EU law does not apply there. It has its own fertility laws, and it's the job of the Northern Cyprus Ministry of Health to monitor clinics. But unlike the UK, Northern Cyprus does not have an independent fertility regulator who upholds standards. Back in the UK, Dr. Ippokratis Saris is one of Britain's leading IVF specialists. He says a lack of regulation can mean cheaper prices and controversial treatments being available, such as sex selection for non-medical reasons. But at what cost?
So the purpose of the regulation in the UK is to ensure that there's trust between patients and clinicians, which effectively means checks and balances.
Could we witness this, please? So, Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse.
2 members of staff have to monitor every movement of eggs, sperm and embryos. These kind of checks should eliminate mix-ups in the lab.
You mind witnessing me?
Yep.
So how could the wrong donor possibly be given to multiple families?
If we take away the potential for error accidentally, which I hope I have stressed that shouldn't happen, then we're only left with intent, which means that on purpose things were not used as they should. Of course, I can't comment any motivation as to why one would want to do that.
Kate and James have now had 2 years to process the news about sperm donor Finn. How did you feel when you both saw your DNA results?
It didn't really make a difference, 'cause it's just who I am. It's not like I can change it.
Upset. They said that I'm Danish when I'm not. They said I'm also related to Kate, which I'm not. Gladly. It's not like saying, oh, this person eats a lot of chocolate cake.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't. That doesn't really matter a lot. But identity, it is the main thing. It's who you are as a person, really.
What impact could finding out new information about a person's donor have on them?
It can have quite a significant impact because obviously you've built your whole story, your whole sort of foundation on something that ends up not being quite right. I think the advantage, even in that scenario, is that the parents and children are on the same page. It's them together that have been misled or lied to.
So I've been investigating this story for a year now, and I've spoken to the families of 7 children who believe they were all given the wrong donors during their IVF treatment in Northern Cyprus. So were all of these unfortunate mistakes, or have these families been deceived about who their children's real donors are? What we do know is that 3 of these children, Kate, James, and Catherine's child, were all born after their parents requested sperm from the world's largest sperm bank, Cryos International in Denmark.
You will be transferred to the first available employee.
Beth and Laura tried to find out from Cryos if their clinic had ordered Finn's sperm for them.
We know now that the donor that was used is not the one that we asked for. So we'd be really grateful if we could check your records that they actually did place the order for us.
But they were told they couldn't be given the information because Beth and Laura didn't order the sperm themselves. I guess my question would be, I got the same response when I spoke to the CEO.
Of course, if they are the customers, we can release everything, but if the clinic is the customer, we can't.
So I'd like just to talk to you a bit about our story that we've been working on. I explained what I'd found out so far about families possibly being given the wrong sperm donors. Does that sound like an error that's been made at Cryos' end, do you think?
Very, very unlikely. We have so many security process in force. They have to present safe ID. That could be passport or driver's license. But it's human. We can do as many security issues as we can, but it will never give 100% security. There will not be a contamination or mix-ups. But I've never seen it, and it has never been documented. So there's been clinics in Greece who have claimed that they get the sperm from Cryos, but it's not true. We have never delivered to them.
This is the family's suspicion, that they were told the sperm was going to come from Cryos and that it was never ordered.
I can't guarantee, but it's most likely not us who have done a fault. So it's probably the clinic.
Several clinics are involved in this story, but one thing I have noticed is that the parents of 4 of these children all had IVF under the care of the same doctor. Dr. Ferdevs Uger's tip claims to make the seemingly impossible possible for those who are desperate to become parents. Over the past 15 years, she's treated patients at 3 clinics, and in an industry where success rates are everything, she boasts exceptionally high numbers and promises a vast array of donors from all over the world. What were your initial thoughts of Dr. Ferdevs?
She just seemed really friendly, really open, and just wanted to help us.
Yeah, she seemed very nice.
The families of the 4 children treated by Dr. Ferdevs all did commercial DNA tests. A leading genetics expert has told me it's unlikely any of them got the donors they asked for. Dr. Ferdevs denies any wrongdoing. She also says that it's not possible to conclude with certainty that the wrong donors have been used based solely on the family's commercial DNA tests. These tests are described as reliable and robust, but they don't stand up in a court of law. So Beth, Laura, and the children have decided to do a second accredited test. This will definitively answer whether Kate and James are biologically related and whether they come from the same sperm donor, which their parents explicitly asked for. Catherine went to a different clinic to Beth and Laura. Her treatment was at Miracle IVF, which Dr. Ferdevs set up in 2019. When Catherine was choosing her anonymous egg donor, she was presented with these profiles, and they actually contain quite a lot of information. You've got heights, weights, hair colour, eye colour, hobbies, professions. But Dr. Ferdevs told me that she does not provide patients with egg donor profiles which describe, and I quote, a specific person. But these all look like very real individual women. Dr. Ferdevs says the choice of the donor is made exclusively by the clinic and that every patient signs an extensive informed consent form before treatment. She also told us that her clinic never provided a guarantee about the donor's ethnicity. I shared this with Catherine.
They shouldn't give people choices if they don't actually have them. Where did they get the donor eggs from?
Were you ever told that your clinic would have final say on who your donor was?
No, never. I remember signing a document around my treatment, but it's all a bit of a blur. They just made me initial every page and yeah, it was all very rushed.
Dr. Ferdev says all treatments carried out by her at Miracle IVF are done so in accordance with local legislation. Dr. Ferdev says their sperm is always procured from an accredited sperm bank.
Yeah, but I still didn't get the sperm donor that I requested. I feel awful saying this because I love my child unconditionally, but I would never have agreed to the treatment had I known that I wasn't going to get the donors that I'd selected.
Dr. Ferdev says she was unable to answer all of our questions regarding Catherine's treatment due to patient confidentiality. It's likely Catherine will never know what happened. While they wait for their second set of DNA results, family life continues.
A bit crispy, these.
Dr. Ferdevs is now claiming she did not perform any IVF procedures during the time Beth and Laura were patients at Doge Clinic, though I've seen evidence which strongly suggests that's not true. It's a further blow for Beth and Laura, who often worry about what happened during their treatments.
So they had both of our eggs collected and then put them into storage. So what happened to those eggs? Have they been used for other people?
Like Kate and James, is there a scenario where they could have a full biological sibling out there and then our own children are not related to each other?
Doge IVF Centre has not responded to our requests for comment. We know that their former patient coordinator, Julie Hodson, was the one who took Beth and Laura's sperm donor orders. She told them Dr. Ferdevs would process them, but Dr. Ferdevs claims that she was not responsible for donor procurement and no information about the request for donor Finn was passed on to her. I've tried speaking to Julie Hodson many times.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
She's just not going to engage, is she? The problem is if Julie doesn't engage, we can never be 100% sure whether Dr. Ferdevs made that order, because she was the one that passed that message on. Or did she? We might never know. For months, I've repeatedly tried to speak to people in Northern Cyprus, the Ministry of Health, MPs, lawyers, fertility specialists, and it's been mostly silence.
The fertility industry in Northern Cyprus, it's important for the economy. You can find fertility clinics across the island in abundance. It's abnormally high and intense for an island so small.
Minna Atlee has spent years raising awareness about fertility scandals in Northern Cyprus, where she lives. She claims some clinics offer money to vulnerable young people for their eggs or sperm, though she won't name any specific clinics, and there's no evidence that the clinics we've mentioned have done this.
We have a country with a very high student population. A large portion of them come from developing countries, so they're looking for ways that they can sustain their studies. And so with that huge need on one hand, when a demand for things like eggs or sperm arises, you can see how they naturally complement one another.
She says doctors and clinics are rarely held accountable if they commit any wrongdoing.
I'm sure there are clinics who work brilliantly, who follow the laws, but I can say that this is related to the fact that the people who run those clinics have a conscience, and I don't think it's something that they are forced to do by the state.
It's results day. Beth and Laura have come to find out whether their children are biologically related.
I've got your results here. There's one each for you. They're exactly the same. So.
This forensics genetics professor has been carrying out relationship tests for 50 years.
So it says, considering the genetic information, the results provide very strong support to the proposition that Kate and James are unrelated.
Is there any possibility whatsoever in your mind that they might be related?
No, because the strength of the evidence is such that I don't believe that I would never see anything like that. But I did calculate, what's the sort of chance that I've made an error, and it turned out it was less than 0.0001%.
I think that's good enough for us. If there's always going to be questions with the test that we've used before, is it robust enough? Can you be certain? At least now we can be certain, can't we?
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing, in my opinion, what has been done.
We can come out of this saying, yes, we're still a family, and that's more important than DNA, can't we? But that doesn't take away from what the clinic has done that is so morally and ethically wrong.
Your story will protect some others.
Yes, I think that's it. If somebody else goes into it with their eyes open, that they know that this has happened before, they can be aware of it and be more careful.
Beth and Laura will now go home to tell the children. Although it's still possible the clinic made a mistake, they're even more convinced they were deliberately deceived. This story goes beyond one doctor and several clinics. I've spoken to other families who say they've been given the wrong donors at other places in northern Cyprus. And I've heard bigger concerns about the egg and the sperm donor trade around the world.
Of all the industries that there are, surely the one that is creating life is the most important one to be really having full attention on, to make sure it's being done properly. This is a human being that's being created. It's not just a widget in a factory. And that human being has rights. They will have views and opinions and needs, and we need to be really respectful of that and make sure it's done absolutely always to the best of our ability.
Oh my God, look at me, I'm just adorable.
It has been a difficult journey, and will probably continue to be in some ways.
Back to the star of the show.
Biologically related or not, this is a loving family.
You have to remember, if they hadn't have done whatever they did, then we wouldn't have Kate and James, because they wouldn't exist.
Oh my God, look at Mum.
We have two amazing children, and yeah, that's not going to change. Finding out this information doesn't change us as a family. It doesn't change how they feel about each other. So difficult conversations, yes, they're hard, but at the end of it, everyone will be okay.
Dr. Ferdevs claims any responsibility regarding Beth and Laura's case lies with the doctor who was in charge of Doge IVF Centre at the time of their treatment. These allegations have been put to Doge several times, but they've not replied. Responding to Catherine's case, Dr. Ferdevs says all treatments carried out by her at Miracle IVF Centre since 2019 were in accordance with local legislation. The Northern Cyprus government has confirmed it's now investigating whether these clinics breach laws and regulation.